When you hear Minnesota, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Be honest. It's probably snow. Lots of it. Maybe the movie Fargo with those exaggerated accents, or perhaps a giant mall. For most people outside the Midwest, Minnesota is just a cold, flat square in the middle of the map, flyover country on the way to the coasts. And that is a massive mistake. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing something different. We aren't just giving you a top 10 list, we're taking a deep, comprehensive into one of the most misunderstood, underrated, and surprisingly spectacular states in America. We're going to the Star of the North, a place with an inland sea that thinks it's an ocean, a place with two major cities that couldn't be more different, a place that birthed musical legends, houses incredible secrets, and yes, embraces a winter that would scare away most mortals. By the end of this video, you won't just know Minnesota, you'll be wondering why you haven't booked a ticket yet. If you love deep dive travel content that goes beyond the tourist traps, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's unlock the North. Let's start with the basics and address the biggest claim to fame. Minnesota's nickname is the land of 10,000 lakes. It's on the license plates. It's ingrained in the identity. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a lie. They're underselling it. If you count any body of water over 10 acres, Minnesota actually has nearly 12,000 lakes. If you count the smaller ponds and wetlands, the number skyrockets. Here's the fact that blows people's minds. Because of all these complex lake systems, Minnesota has more miles of shoreline than California, Florida, and Hawaii combined. The geography here is incredibly diverse. The southern and western parts of the state are rolling prairies and farmland, the start of the Great Plains. The southeast is an area called the Driftless region, which miraculously escaped the last glaciers, leaving behind deep river valleys and steep bluffs that look nothing like the rest of the Midwest. But the defining feature is the water. Up north at Itasca State Park, you can literally walk across rocks over a tiny knee-deep stream that just happens to be the beginning of the mighty Mississippi River, starting its 2,300-mile journey to the Gulf of Mexico. Water isn't just scenery here, it's a lifestyle. If you live in Minnesota, you either own a boat or your best friend owns a boat. Now, let's move to civilization. More than half of Minnesota's 5.7 million residents live in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area, known universally as the Twin Cities. If you're visiting from out of state, you might think they're just one big city. Do not say that to a local. They are siblings with very different personalities, separated mostly by the Mississippi River. Minneapolis is the younger, flashier sibling. Its modern architecture, vibrant nightlife, a killer music scene, and gleaming sports stadiums. It's home to the University of Minnesota and a massive corporate presence. Target, Best Buy, General Mills are all headquartered here. If you visit Minneapolis, you have to walk the Stone Arch Bridge over St. Anthony Falls. It's the only major natural waterfall on the entire Mississippi River, and it used to power the flour mills that made Minneapolis the Mill City. Then there's St. Paul, the capital. It's the older, more historic, slightly more reserved sibling. It feels a bit more European, with winding streets instead of a rigid grid. It's dominated by government buildings and the incredibly imposing Cathedral of St. Paul. A must-do in St. Paul is driving down Summit Avenue. F. Scott Fitzgerald grew up here, and the vibe is very old money and history. Together, these cities punch way above their weight culturally. The Twin Cities have more theater seats per capita than anywhere outside NYC. The food scene is explosive, driven by waves of immigration. You'll find incredible Hong, Somali, and Mexican cuisine here, alongside traditional Midwestern fare. It is a vibrant, highly educated, and surprisingly cosmopolitan metro area tucked away in the north. Okay, we have to address the elephant in the room, the Mall of America. Located just south of the Twin Cities in Bloomington, it is the largest mall in the United States. It is a behemoth. It has an indoor theme park with roller coasters, an aquarium underneath it, over 500 stores, and it attracts 40 million visitors a year. That's more than Disney World, the Grand Canyon, and Graceland combined. Is it worth visiting? Here's the honest truth. If you love shopping, or if you need a climate-controlled environment to exhaust your children for 6 hours during winter, yes, it's an impressive spectacle of American consumerism. But if you're looking for authentic Minnesota culture, skip it. You could be in a mall anywhere. Minnesota has much better things to offer, and they usually involve being outside. This is where the real magic happens. If you only do one thing in Minnesota, rent a car in the Twin Cities and drive 2 hours north to Duluth, the gateway to the north shore of Lake Superior. Lake Superior is not a lake. It's an inland freshwater sea. It is terrifyingly large, cold, and beautiful. It creates its own weather. The drive from Duluth to the Canadian border along Highway 61, yes, the one Bob Dylan sang about, is easily one of the top 5 most scenic drives in America. You'll pass steep cliffs, waterfalls crashing directly into the lake, and dense boreal forests. You have to stop at Gooseberry Falls State Park, which is like a natural water park of cascading falls. You have to see Split Lock Lighthouse, one of the most photographed spots in the Midwest, perched precariously on a cliff edge. The further north you go, the wilder it gets. You eventually hit Grand Marais, arguably the coolest small town in America. It's an arts colony tucked between a natural harbor and the Sawtooth Mountains. The vibe up here isn't Midwestern farm country. It feels more like Norway or the Pacific Northwest. If the North Shore is about dramatic vistas, our next stop is about solitude. In the far northeast corner of the state lies the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, or the BWCA. This is 1 million acres of protected wilderness that extends into Canada. There are no roads here, no motors allowed, no electricity. If you want to go in, you paddle a canoe. If you want to get to the next lake, you put the canoe on your shoulders and you walk. It is one of the last truly quiet places in the lower 48 states. It's a place where you can travel for days and not see another human being. It is rugged, challenging, and spiritually recharging. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, the BWCA is bucket list territory. So what about the people? You'll hear the term Minnesota nice thrown around a lot. It's complicated. Minnesotans are incredibly polite, helpful, and averse to conflict. If you get a flat tire in a snowstorm, 3 people will pull over to help you before you can get your phone out. However, some outsiders find it hard to break into social circles. Minnesota nice can sometimes mean polite on the surface, but keeping you at an arm's length. It's not malicious, it's just a cultural reserve, maybe left over from the heavy Scandinavian ancestry in the region. But that reserve disappears when it comes to their arts. Minnesota has produced Bob Dylan, Judy Garland, and the Coen brothers, but the absolute king is Prince. Prince could have lived anywhere in the world. He chose to stay in Minnesota, living and working at his massive complex Paisley Park in the suburbs of Chanhassen. Today, it's a museum, a pilgrimage site for fans. Walking through his studios and seeing his costumes is an incredibly moving experience. He is woven into the fabric of the Twin Cities. If you're downtown, you'll see his murals everywhere. You can't visit without eating. Yes, the high-end dining scene is amazing, but you need to try the staples. The most famous culinary contribution is the Juicy Lucy. It's a burger, but instead of the cheese being on top, it's stuffed inside the meat patty before it's cooked. When you bite into it, molten hot cheese explodes in your mouth. It's dangerous and delicious. And then there is hotdish. In other parts of the country, you call it a casserole. Here, it is hotdish. The undisputed king is tater tot hotdish. Ground beef, cream of mushroom soup, veggies, topped with crispy tater tots. It is pure comfort food, usually served in a church basement, and it is the fuel that gets Minnesotans through the winter. And that brings us back to where we started, the winter. Yes, it gets cold. It gets your nose hairs instantly freeze cold. It gets negative 30 degrees without the wind chill cold. But here's the secret. Minnesotans lean into it. They don't hibernate. The state comes alive. They host massive outdoor winter carnivals. They play pond hockey tournaments with thousands of players. They go ice fishing on frozen lakes that turn into temporary villages of little shacks. They embrace a concept similar to the Danish hygge, finding coziness and contentment during the long dark months. If you visit in winter, bring the right gear, and you'll find a stark, quiet beauty here that you can't find anywhere else. Minnesota is a state of incredible depth. It's a place where ultra-modern city life exists minutes away from pristine wilderness. It's sophisticated and folksy, freezing cold and incredibly warm, all at the same time. It's more than flyover country. It's a destination. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Minnesota, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. And let me know in the comments, did I change your mind about visiting the North Star State? Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next epic travel guide. Thanks for watching, and keep exploring.